This week on the Documentary Review Podcast, Jonathan and I pour a hot, tall cup of tort reform as we discuss the 2011 documentary Hot Coffee. Welcome to the podcast. I'm PT.
I'm Jonathan. Glad you can join us.
Yeah, I'm glad to, I kind of feel like we interrupted you there, Jonathan. You were like badly. It was good though, because it's kind of like when the news reporters come back and there's like furiously scribbling down. Yeah. They act like they were really up to something busy before you got involved.
Yeah.
Like
I was trying to finish a Candy Crush level. No, just kidding. That's not what I was trying to do. I was actually pulling up Hot Coffee on Internet Movie Database so I could reference, because I can't remember one of the names of the people in there that I wanted to talk about. So,
all right. Well, I can't remember any of the names. So.
Oh, good, perfect. Well, we'll just refer to them as whatever they did.
Right, burned leg lady.
Burned leg lady.
Yeah. How's it going, Jonathan?
Good. It's life's rocking and rolling. Spring break is almost upon us. So.
Whoa! Got any big spring break plans?
No,
the beach or anything?
No. We got a company coming in from out of state. That's my in-laws, mother and father-in-law are coming in for like a week and change. They're gonna visit with the grandkids. I'm gonna spend the whole time.
Have plans. I'm shocked.
So yeah, there you go.
Nice. What do you have planned? You're living the wild lifestyle.
It's crazy.
Yes.
How about you, PT? Anything crazy going on?
Not too much. No, I got nothing for us today, except that I already mentioned to you. But I'm drinking some nice grapefruit shandy. Oh, you know what I will say? All right, I'm going to put the secret into action right now, Jonathan. We're going to put it to the test.
Okay.
I have a new goal for our podcast. There's a company called Blue Apron. Are you familiar at all with Blue Apron? Their service?
No.
All right. Well, the only reason I'm familiar with them is because I listen to 8 zillion podcasts, and they, of those 8 zillion podcasts, they advertise out, I'd say 7 zillion of them. And I want to make it 700 zillion and one, because I subscribe to their service, and it's pretty cool. Basically, what it is, Jonathan, I'm going to give them a free ad right now. Just a little taste. Basically, what it is like every week they have a menu, and you can have it like 3 meals a week or 2 meals a week. You can like pick, but then they basically send you all the ingredients to make like a really awesome meal in like all like exactly proportioned out, exactly like, here's the exact amount of like herbs you need. Here's like a, stock of thyme or whatever, like exactly how to do it. And then they also send you really good like instructions and links to videos of like exactly how you make the meal. So I've been using this for like a month, and it's kind of changed my life. It's like I've been making these crazy meals that I never thought I could make before. And then on the times, I only do it every couple of weeks. And then on the like off weeks, I'm looking up other recipes, cooking other crazy stuff. So it's, and every meal I've ever had from them has been exceptional. So
wow, that sounds like a really cool concept for a thing.
Yeah, it's totally cool. They give you exactly. So like, how it is when you like, if you want to make something, you look at the recipe and you're like, I have one of those items, and then like you gotta like, you're like, oh crap, I gotta get this thing, where I'm gonna use it twice a year and have to buy a giant jar of it or whatever. They'll give you the exact amount you need. It's cool. So check out Blue Apron.
All right, Blue Apron. I'm in. There's a pre-plug Blue Apron, so
yeah, Blue Apron, right on. You will not be disappointed. It's great food and really interesting meals. All right, that was my free ad, and there you go. So that's the secret, man. I'm putting it out there in the universe. Positive thoughts that Blue Apron is going to come through and sponsor our show, because I believe in them and I want to support something I believe in.
All right. Well, I think it'd be cool to get a sponsor. That'd be awesome. I never really thought about that before, but sure, let's do that.
Yeah, you don't care if it's Trump or whatever.
I might have my limits.
Nice. All right. So let's segue here, because there was an incident this week at a Trump rally where a guy. This is not funny at all. Why am I laughing? In which a guy in the crowd like punched a black protester in the back of the head, and then Trump was like, "Oh, I totally don't condone that. By the way, I will definitely pay all that guy's legal fees, anything that happens to him because of that. just to let you all, the rest of you know, wink. But also, I don't condone it. But I will definitely pay for all the legal fees involved for any kind of situation like that. So that was pretty pretty rad thing to do.
Right. So
So
yeah. Well, thanks to tort reform, he won't have to worry about facing any major liabilities for that. So, you know.
right. So let's get into our documentary this week, which is Hot Coffee. Jonathan, give us the patented Jonathan rundown. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, Hot Coffee starts off with this well-known story of the McDonald's lawsuit where an elderly woman is burned. We all know the story. She sues McDonald's, gets millions of dollars, but it dives much deeper into the story than that face value account, kind of telling us exactly what happened, and then taking us a lot further down the line into the legal system in America, who can be held responsible for what, and what changes occurred in our country and the legal system, partially due to that lawsuit, and who took advantage, and how did it affect us as individual consumers. And it also dives deeper down that rabbit hole of the civil justice system in America and where it is right now and where it's going. So definitely a documentary that's full of, you know, very tough questions, and you know, examines things that we should probably be thinking about as citizens. That's Hot
Right
Coffee.
on. So well pitched. So what did you like this documentary?
I did like this documentary.
Nice.
PT, what do you think? Do you like it?
Yes, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was good.
Okay.
It was it was different than I thought it'd be. Like it was much more. It turned out to be much more of an issues documentary, you know, than I expected it to be. But there was a lot of good stuff. A lot of times the issues documentaries aren't always my favorite, but I feel like this looked at things in a way that I hadn't quite thought of before. I mean, some of the stuff I'd certainly thought of, but like the way that they approached things was kind of fresh and new to my mind. So it was definitely a good watch for me.
Yeah, it was something that I'm sure most people hadn't put a great deal of thought into. It really makes me want to know more. You know, like I understand that all documentaries, all issue-based documentaries, are going to be essentially one-sided and give you a portion of the truth. I mean, obviously they're kind of like portraying their point, and this was no exception. But it did portray some really good points, and it really made me want to like look deeper and see, you know, how much should this be something that I am more active about, or should understand better at least. So,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely like a super biased documentary, but I don't know. I kind of feel like we get the other side of it a lot, so it was good to get this side of it, you know. So
I
I
think so
was
too.
okay with the bias.
Yeah, I wasn't like, and it was a subtle bias. I mean, well, I don't know if that's the right way to say it. I mean, obviously, it was really strongly in favor of one side of the issue over the other, but it wasn't like aggressive. It was more like just it presented its case, and it didn't like it. I liked the way it did it, even though it was one-sided. You know, but
Totally.
yeah. So let's
So
start.
yeah. So I was gonna say it to kind of get into it right at the beginning. You know, man, I keep bringing up The Secret. I guess I'm still mad about it. I don't know, but you remember, like, one of my complaints with The Secret was that they didn't do a great job at all of like easing us in. They just like started hitting us with the crazy right away. I felt like this documentary was like the opposite, where it did a really good job of like presenting things in a way that lined up with the way that like I kind of saw this McDonald's case, and probably most people would see it, and then like slowly started like bringing in the no, you know, let's challenge your assumptions kind of one at a time and show you what this case was really all about. So well done.
Yeah, agreed. They did do a great job of that, because they present it like like you said, like right out the gate. It's presented the way we all think of it. Like, I mean, they essentially man on the street interview a bunch of people that are, you know, giving their take on it, and it's the take you would expect. Like, some old lady was driving through McDonald's and got a hot coffee, and it dumped all over her lap, and she sued and got millions of dollars. And then that's where everybody, you know, and that does seem outrageous. Like that bullet point, which is as far as most people have ever you know, it's everything that essentially is everything everyone's ever known, or most people have ever known about that case. And it just seems like, oh, well, of course we'd all dump some hot coffee in our lap for, you know,
Okay.
$3 million. I mean,
But
I
let me
think
ask
you'd,
you, yeah, about that. So because I was thinking about this afterwards, and I totally agree with your point. But I was thinking about it after I watched the whole documentary, and I was thinking, why do we get kind of like mad, or just, I don't even know if mad's the right word, but kind of like disgusted by that situation? You know, like, I know when I thought about it, I was like, rolling my eyes. Some idiot gets all that money for spilling hot coffee. Um, I don't know. Why do you think we have such like a visceral reaction to that idea? Because it's not like they're taking money from me; they're taking it from McDonald's. Who, like, why do we even care if that was the story? Why do you think it hits such a nerve with everybody, where everybody's like, oh my god?
right. Well, I think like there are several parts where no one thinks people should get something they didn't earn. I think that's something that we're all against. If you know, if you didn't work for something, you didn't earn it. You know, and especially, and then on top of that, even though it's not you, they essentially took it from someone else that did earn it. You know, and right there, I think there's an internal moral thing that you're like, no, that's not right. Even though it wasn't me in that instance, if someone came and took my stuff or took something from me, and I didn't really, I certainly didn't, they didn't deserve it or earn it, or like shouldn't have had it, and it hurts me, well, that sucks. I think we all have empathy for that. And that's kind of where this case is at. You know, it's where it's saying like, yeah, just because McDonald's is rich, or you know, substitute any really rich entity or person or whatever, it doesn't mean they should get screwed. You know, you shouldn't just be like, well, that person's rich, so we're just going to take their money. That's, you know, I think most people think that's not cool. And
Right.
that's what this feels like on the surface.
Okay.
Um,
Good answer. I
yeah.
like it. All right. So then we kind of get into some of the real facts of the case, and would walk us through those a little bit. Which ones of those were kind of like the most like surprising, or maybe like changed your views of the case a little bit?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that would change people's opinion about it is the fact that this, like, right away you get the image of this person was just in it for the money. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they saw a big target on McDonald's and went for it. And right away when they're like, yeah, this is an old woman, one that was severely injured. She wasn't just like, you know, just like got some discomfort from some hot coffee. She needed skin grafts, and so I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, that's a big part of it too. The extent of her injuries were pretty darn severe. Um,
Yes, and they do not shy away from showing those
no, they
those
show the
pictures.
photos, and
Yeah.
it's like, wow, that woman had. I mean, like, I can't imagine how much pain she went through, and like, obviously, she had spent weeks in the hospital and had skin grafts. So, I mean, like, not a laughing matter. That's some real injuries.
Right.
Um, which I mean, like that wasn't even the biggest part of it. Like the bigger game changer, even than that, for me, which I mean that certainly had impact. But the fact that she didn't go after McDonald's from, you know, she was just an old lady that ended up with a lot of medical bills for these injuries that were caused by, you know, the coffee. And she just asked, hey, can you help me pay for these? She didn't even ask for all the money. And like at the gate, she was just like, hey, I got really injured from your coffee. One, she assumed it was an, you know, essentially an accident, where they were like, it seemed like your machine must have been way too hot to cause these severe injuries, or, you know, that you know, you should get that serviced or fixed so it doesn't happen to anyone else. And two, can you help me pay for these medical bills? You know, just give me the money to pay for these medical bills. That's it. That's all she asked for. And that right there changes the whole tone of it. You know, it's an old lady who's just like, you know, man, she really did have some. And then she wasn't even like going after punitive damages or anything else. She just wanted her medical bills paid for. And that was really where it was at. And then, so then the big change is that the jury essentially shockingly came out with that big number, and even the way they deciphered that number, like, was real simple and logical. That was how much money McDonald's made in 2 days off the profits from their sales of coffee. And in the trial itself, McDonald's was so essentially callous and negligent that she wasn't an independent example. Like they actually, you know, had 700 internal reports in McDonald's own database of other people being burned by the coffee. They knew it was too hot. You couldn't. It wasn't even drinkable. And then they were deposed, and they were like, yeah, of course we know that you can't just drink our coffee, it would cause severe injuries. So I mean, obviously, and then they were like, well, we served 24 million cups of it and only 700 people got severely injured, so mathematically no big deal. And of course the jury, anyone is like, whoa,
Screw
slow
you.
down. Those 700 people are not like, a rounded part of a decimal. Those are 700 actual human lives that have been injured that you knew about. And they're not asking them to redesign the store. They're saying take the little knob and turn it from 180 to 170. That's not asking a lot. That's a very, very small thing you have to do to, prevent these injuries. You don't have to make less money or anything. You just turn a little knob. So I can see where the jury was pissed. And the number sounds kind of logical when you put it that way.
Totally. Yeah, and the big thing that I hadn't thought of, and that, I mean, you definitely touched on it, was just the idea that really the money wasn't like to reward the lady. Basically, it was basically to punish the company. It's to make them
Right.
like sit up and pay attention and be like, oh, I guess we should finally do something about this issue.
Right.
And it makes a lot more sense when you look at it like that.
Absolutely. And here's the worst part about all this. Well, not this case, but like once you go past this case and you start getting into tort reform and the rest of the documentary, the very worst thing in my mind, like after watching this, was how incredibly well the justice system worked in this case. So
Right.
the woman, went to court, had a jury of her peers. The jury came up with that number like they did because they were like, oh, 2-day sale. That seems fair to tell this company, hey, stop injuring people with your stupid product, And it was enough to make them take notice. Then on top of that, a judge came in and was like, well, this lady doesn't really need $3 million. That's a good number for McDonald's, but it's excessive anyway. Bumped it down like $500,000. So in the end, they didn't pay an excessive amount. I mean, $500,000 is a lot of money. Again, not to McDonald's, it's a drop in the bucket. But after all that, they turned that little knob, and now there haven't been 1,000 more people getting burned by their coffee.
Right.
Brilliant. And then guess what else? That was an industry standard at the time. I guarantee every other, Denny's and Burger King and every other place that had their coffee up to 180 all turned it down. Yay. The consumers win. Public safety is raised. Companies don't really lose anything in the long run. I mean, the only people that took a hit was McDonald's, and it wasn't a big one because the judge even softened the blow. Yay, the system worked. It was perfect. Couldn't any better. Oh,
Right.
but the story didn't end there.
Yeah, I mean, geez, when you put it that way, that lady basically should be like a hero or something. And that's really sucks for her that she's like basically a laughing stock.
Yeah, she's like a villain. She's a villainized laughing stock, and she totally did something great for everyone. I mean, like, did she save a baby from a burning building? No, but she did stand up against a big company, and her little tiny win helped everyone. It made life better for everyone in America.
Right.
And it did nothing for McDonald's. You know what I mean? McDonald's wasn't like, oh shit, our quarterly margins are way off. We lost, from 3 hours worth of coffee sales off one day.
Right. That's so after that big win and the system working, McDonald's the corporation was like, never again. Just get out.
Yeah, that's it. That was what happened next. That was the reaction. It was like corporate America was like, this is outrageous.
Right. And that's the other infuriating thing about this documentary is just that, like, how well their PR campaign worked, man. It worked like a freaking charm. Holy cow. Everybody knows about this case. Everyone thinks it's ridiculous. And yeah.
Yeah, it was
Well
the
done.
poster child. Yeah, well done, corporate America. You took us to, sorry about the language there, but you took us to school. I mean, like as a general populace, yeah, we got taken to school in a big way.
Yeah,
And
totally.
yeah, so for anyone else that hasn't seen the documentary yet, so then the next phase of the documentary goes on to it starts off with tort reform is really the next thing, which is something that they kind of show right away that basically no one really has much of an idea about. And it's basically a way to put caps and limitations on damages that people can get. And their point was kind of like, well, that's stupid because, like this McDonald's case, for example, and any other case, I mean, the two sides of the coin is one is saying that Yeah, well, it's a jury of 12 people. We've got this great, jury of your peers come in, they hear the case based on the evidence and actual stuff going on in that case. They're going to make a decision, and if the decision is to award someone a lot of money to penalize a company, then maybe should be what it is. That's up to them, and each case varies so drastically that yeah, that should be in the jury's hands. And even at that, even before tort reform, the judges could limit those settlements, as they did in the McDonald's case. But then the other side is the corporate side is like, hey, there's gazillions of frivolous lawsuits, and this is something that I wish they would have thrown out the stat, and it may or may not have
Yeah,
supported the documentary.
I thought about that too.
It was just killing me that they could say like every year in actual frivolous lawsuits, United States loses, $20 billion or whatever it is. Or is that number only $6 million? You know what I mean? Like, because that's a big difference. If it's
Sure.
and they never
Yeah, I was thinking about like how like is there any way to I didn't actually do any real research, but I was thinking about it and I was like, I do know people that I'm pretty sure like, have kind of like cheated welfare, people who have like, cheated the system in a lot of ways, but I don't think I know anyone who's like ever filed a frivolous lawsuit. I can't think of anyone who's like ever really even filed a lawsuit that I know against a company. Um,
well, I
I don't know.
I'm kind of in that same boat where I don't know. Like no one I know in my personal life has really filed a frivolous lawsuit. The only thing that popped into my mind on this, and this is where I want to know, like, what's the number on this total? So my weird anyway, I basically found out through a friend that there's a Safeway in the town that I live in, and it's in kind of like a rougher section of the town. And so a grocery store here for anyone that doesn't have Safeway, but every week basically they pay out like a $2,500 settlement to someone that sues them.
Nice.
And he said they get sued, at least once a week. So they're basically all frivolous lawsuits where, people just say they were like most of them they don't even know like exactly what happened. The cases, none of the cases does anyone suffer any like real injuries or anything like that. But they know essentially that if you sue Safeway is like legal / business department is like, well, if we settle for $2,500, it's cheaper than the cheapest we're going to get out of it on court. So if they take that settlement, then that's what we do. Just pay it out. And so, yeah. So I mean, like, and that's a lot of money if you're especially one local grocery store,
All right.
and maybe that's the only place that does it, and there are other chains don't do it. But I mean, like, it seemed like okay, well that should be addressed. That's that's again, that's the argument of the other side. Like a gallon of milk costs more than ever for everybody if every single grocery store in America is paying out money every week to lawsuits.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's interesting anecdotal evidence for sure. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like if it seems like such a pain in the ass to sue people. I feel like the people who would be who would be down with that are not people who would like be down with following through with that whole thing. But I mean, I guess apparently some people are.
Yeah, and I want to see again. That was a friend of a friend that he was actually in the helped file those claims or whatever. Essentially, he was part of the postage system that like worked out the certified letters between the attorneys and the checks and all that stuff. So he just happened to know from that little point of view like how often it happened. But when he said that, it was really shocking to me.
Yeah.
I don't think like the grocery store in my neighborhood gets sued once a week. I can't imagine they do, but
Yeah, I don't know. I did like one of the big points was of the documentary was like in our three-branch political system, if you're taking a realistic look at it, like the justice system is kind of the only place where we can kind of get a fair shake and have our voice be heard. Even though when they said that, I was like, well, really, is it really a fair shake with the corporations have like insanely awesome lawyers and stuff like that? But I mean, their point is taken, which is that we can like I can sue McDonald's and go before a judge and present my case or whatever.
right.
Which
Right.
Is cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought that same thing too. I was like, it's less about the money, still about the money. You know, I mean, like, you know what? If O.J. Simpson did not have a $17 million legal team or whatever the heck it was, I
Right.
doubt he would. His case would have gone the same way. If you know, you, that matters. You can't say it doesn't matter that you don't have like an insanely awesome legal team. But at least you're right. You can still sit in the same room with the jury of your peers with me versus GM.
Right. I'm watching the People versus O.J. Simpson show right now. It's pretty good.
Oh yeah, how is it?
Recommended. It's awesome. It's really good. David Schwimmer's tearing it up, man. I think this is going to revitalize David Schwimmer's career. Ross from
Really?
Friends is back, baby.
Sweet, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a really good show. Although I will say they kind of like in the documentary, they did kind of like contradict their own point later when they showed like that that rape victim like went with Al Franken or whatever to Senate, and like she didn't have her day in court, but she was able to use the legislative branch to help her. So
She was. Did you that rape victim Jamie Lynn Jones, I think is her name,
yes.
something like that? Did you do any research after you watched the?
No, I did not.
Okay, so that's research I wish I didn't do. But I was really intrigued because we're kind of jumping ahead, but another thing that they touch on in the documentary is that you can't, or a lot of employers and like contracts you sign for like cell phones and credit cards and things like that say that there's mandatory arbitration. So in other words, you can't sue, you can't bring them to court, but you have to go sit, with an arbitrator and settle it that way. Well, so this one girl, quote unquote, she works for Halliburton, goes to Iraq, gets put in a situation where she gets raped, and the company just like arbitrates it, and that's a private, that's sealed arbitration, so you don't even know, what went on there, and they basically give her nothing. And then Al Franken, who looks awesome, I was like, oh, he's super cool. But he goes in and like actually gets a law created that they can protect people from that. And that was really cool. And then like at the end of it, he's like, and I'm going to make sure that you get your day in court, basically, to that girl. And I was like, wow, well, I want to see if he followed through with that, because that's pretty awesome. And he seemed really awesome. So I just want to like see if he is as awesome as he seems. And he was. He did get her a day in court. Where it turned out she made up the whole thing, and that she was not actually raped, and
oh wow,
yeah, she just like was a very bad person that was somewhat mentally unstable.
Wow,
that was what came out in her day in court, which really changed that whole latter part where I was like, oh, maybe arbitration's way better. They got it right the first time around.
Yeah, I don't know. I bet the filmmakers are like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have used. Wish we hadn't used that example, boy.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure they're like, the filmmakers would be one. Al Franken would be the one that I'd be like, oh my gosh, I totally went to bat for that woman and changed the laws and everything. So it turned out she was just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Al Franken always comes off as cool. Like he seems like a lawmaker who really like cares and stuff like that, and is trying to do a good job.
Yeah, but that was the impression I totally got.
Yeah.
But he should have fought for somebody else, though.
Guess so. Crazy, but yeah, that I think the point stands though. That whole part about arbitration was pretty interesting to me. And something I definitely never thought about before. Wondered what my rights were with my employer and all my different things like that. Who knows?
Yeah, it seems. Oh, I'm sure you signed away your right to sue your employer. You got to. You work for too big of a company.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to let slide. They're not going to let you keep a right that they don't have to let you keep. No way.
Yep.
Yeah, it does seem weird that you can sign away the right to take someone to court. Like, I didn't think you can just like sign away your rights, but apparently you can.
Yeah, I wonder how much that holds up. Like I remember reading recently that like depending on the state, like in California, like California does not recognize any non-compete clause. Like any non-compete clause that you sign, like California just doesn't recognize those. They're like, no, that's violates your right to work. So their courts do not not recognize that. So yeah, maybe it depends on where you are, but I mean, I think the courts definitely have the power to be like, no, you can't just say that they don't have that right anymore, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, because I remember, and this was a long time ago now, but I took a law class in college, and it was taught by a not just a professor but an actual lawyer, and he was like, he brought up at the time like those little waivers you sign when you go like indoor rock climbing or skydiving or whatever, where they basically give you a waiver and it says like, no matter how bad we screw up or negligent we are, you cannot sue us now. Just sign this document, and then you can't do that.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, he's like, if you bring those documents to a court of law, they just throw them out because you can't just like, there's no citizen can just sign a thing that says like you're no longer liable for your own negligence. You can't just sign that away magically. It's just that's just this paper that they have people sign so that way in case they do get injured, they're like, well, I can't sue, and hopefully that works. But in reality, you
Right.
can't sign away, neglect.
Right. Yeah, people are weird about that. Oh, okay. So what the one case I do remember that I know someone that tried to do a frivolous lawsuit was this person that I used to work near. Um, I kind of like overheard the whole situation. He saw that a car dealership had posted online a Mercedes, or I'm sorry, a Ford Mustang for, instead of like $35,000, like $3,500 or whatever. Like in their online ad, they'd put like $3,500 instead of $35,000. So he called them. He's like, "Yes, I'd like to buy this car." And they're like, "No, I'm sorry, that was just a misprint or whatever." He's like, "No, you have to give it to me for that amount." And they're like, "No, we don't." And that was just a misprint, and we're fixing it right now. Um, and he was like, "No, you have to give it to me for that." And I went back and forth for a while. And he's like, "Well, I'm suing you." And so I was like listening into this whole thing, and I was like kind of like laughing. I was like, "I don't think this is gonna work out." But then then I heard him like call like a string of lawyers, and he was like, I was like pitching it to all these different lawyers and like getting shut down by all of them and being like, "No, you can't do that. They have the right to not sell it to you or whatever." So there was an attempt, I guess, at kind of like a frivolous lawsuit kind of thing.
Yeah, and
But what was interesting about it though was like how like enraged he was about like how the unfairness of it all. Like when really he was just trying to rip off that car dealership. But he was like, "This is America. Like they have to they have to like let me do this, and this is completely unfair." And he was just like so convinced that it was the fairness was on his side. It was crazy. It was an interesting situation.
yeah, that is really interesting because I mean, like clearly he was trying to do the immoral thing. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
clearly he was the one that was just like, oh yeah, like these guys made an honest mistake, and they were correcting it as quickly as possible, and he was just trying to take advantage of the situation. What a dick! That's great that he was. It's great that he was so took the moral high ground on that.
Side note, I'm not going to say what political candidate that person supports. He has very small hands. I'll just say that. Um, yeah. So okay. So we kind of got to the arbitration thing. What else was there?
Okay, so here's another huge part of the documentary. I'll let you give me your take on this. Is the so to get the tort reform passed, like the corporate entities in the United States were trying to get this tort reform passed. It did not pass on a federal level. It got vetoed by Bill Clinton. So they started pursuing it on each state level. And in the legislative system, then do tell what happens at that point.
All right, cut out there for a second, but I think we're at the point where they decided to take it local and to to basically buy the judges. Is that where we're at?
That's where I'm going with this. Yeah, this blew my mind. This was a
yeah. So I watched this like last week, so I can't remember like all the details of it, but yeah, but I mean basically their goal, right, was to like help get the judges elected at the local level that they wanted to get elected. And I don't remember. So did they like talk about like how much does it cost to win a judge election? Do we
yeah.
know
So
that?
I don't think they threw out the exact numbers, but so they went state to state, and in states where they had they went to the state Supreme Court, so they weren't like trying to win local elections or anything like that. So they were trying to get essentially stack the state Supreme Courts with judges that favored corporate rights over personal, or individual rights. And they were largely successful. They just spent more money than the people they felt didn't favor their cause.
Right. What a good plan.
It worked. And that was the other thing when I was like, didn't they say that you can't buy the judicial system? But anyway,
Right.
apparently you can't. Price tag on it, and they basically put the people they wanted in power, which worked really well. After that, tort reform went really easily. But the part that really sunk it to a whole new level, and I would love to see some investigative journalism on this. One of the judges that they didn't want, his name was Oliver Diaz. He does win the election against all odds. He has less money and still comes through, and he seemed like the kind of guy you would want as a judge. I mean, granted, all I know him from is this documentary, but
right.
Certainly seemed like a very level, intelligent person. And he had this corporate guy come up against him, and he wins, even though he had less money. But as soon as he gets done, he gets indicted on federal charges for basically bribery, and it was essentially baseless, which is the part where I really want to see some investigative reporting. Would be so how did they get this indictment to begin with, and what does it take? Can I get somebody indicted if I just feel like it? Can I just say something and then is it? I mean, what was the process on that? But anyway, somebody with enough influence and power basically had this guy indicted. So, and then it goes through the trial, and he's acquitted of all charges. And then as soon as he gets done on that, then they indict him on tax evasion, which again, he quickly wins the case and is acquitted everything. But the problem being, by then he's already been off the bench for 3 years, because you can't continue to sit on the bench while you're under indictment for crimes, especially about being bribed being on the bench. And he goes through and eventually loses his seat during the next election because nobody wants to back him, because he's been indicted twice now. Of course, there's a huge stigma about the guy. So they basically bought the courts to get the reforms passed that they wanted.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Huh?
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's messed up. I was my mind was going all places. Can I buy a judge? How much money would it take? if I drop 50,000, can I just get it?
Well, no, I think it was they definitely dropped a lot more money than 50,000, because I think they threw out the number 17 million, but I can't remember if that was for one specific state or what it was. But they definitely spent more money than any of the opposition. And all that stuff again. Now it seems weird. Of course, there's something I never really thought about, but this tort reform basically ended up putting caps on how much you could get in the lawsuit, or it limited the ways it's just systems to limit the ways you could sue, and it's all under the guise of getting rid of frivolous lawsuits. But again, I think we have to live with frivolous lawsuits as long as again, that dude that wanted to sue, your example of someone you knew of, he's trying to sue to get a car dealership to sell him a car for $3,500 because of a typo. But if all those lawyers, if he was calling just through strings of lawyers and they were all no, we're not going to take that case, that's a good sign right there that most lawyers, and I'm sure he wasn't calling the reputable lawyers. I'm sure he was calling the crappy TV trial lawyers. And if they wouldn't even take that case, that's a good sign that they won't just sue for anything. And it means if a lot of frivolous lawsuits lose, I would assume, if it is truly a frivolous lawsuit. But again, that's why you have a jury, 12 people sitting there looking at it and being oh, this guy's just suing because he's looking to get rich. I mean, most juries aren't going to be yeah, let's get down with that guy. That might be me next. I don't think, they're not going to find 12 people in the jury box that are have that mentality. So corporations are inherently protected, or not just corporations, but anyone being sued is inherently protected. There are 12 unbiased people that are going to hear the case, and make a
Right.
decision.
Yeah, I think like in general, anything that limits the court's power to do what it needs to do in like individual situations is generally bad. Like, I mean, I think we have a lot of problems because of mandatory drug sentences and 3 strikes you're out and on drug offenses and having to try young people as adults in certain situations. Like all states have all kinds of crazy laws around that kind of stuff that is definitely like stacked our prisons crazy full. So yeah, I think it's probably good for the most part to give the courts the independence to do what needs to be done in a specific situation.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty profound statement and one that people should really listen to. You go PT. That's
Nice. I'll be running for state Supreme Court this coming season. If any corporations would have backed me, I would definitely reform that tort.
Hear that, Courtney Love? You owe us one.
Oh man, you should send Courtney Love the. It'd just be a funny like behind the scenes thing to like if just send Courtney Love the link to that and be like, you gonna what are you gonna take care of us now or what?
I love it. Let's do it.
Nice. I'm trying to think. Anything else we need to talk about in this one?
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably it. I'm still so disappointed that I know that one girl like faked her
Yeah, I'm
rape, and
disappointed that you told me that.
I
Well, I mean, was it like, well, okay, just to play the devil's advocate, are you sure that like Halliburton didn't just wasn't some like plant? You didn't read that on like Halliburton.com or anything?
no, I didn't. There's I think actually I read the full story of everything on Wiki or whatever, Wikipedia, but there were definitely several other articles and sources on it that said like like so yes, one was from like a rape website thing that I read, and they were like their article was basically like, yeah, this is really bad for rape victims in general because a lot of times they just like rape victims get like treated like, oh, this is just some girl
Right.
who's crazy and whatever, and in this case it was, and they were like, yeah, you gotta remember that was just one isolated incident, that's not the norm. And
Right.
so, I mean, I guess, and again, I only researched it for 20 minutes online, so maybe there is more to it. Maybe she was like part of a conspiracy that Halliburton took care of, but it certainly seemed like she did
Right.
get her day in court, and they ruled favorably in Halliburton's defense, and that she,
Gotcha. Well,
the sex, yeah,
right. If she didn't get raped, that's good. I guess. Good, I guess. So I was that part. Like I was thinking about that today. I was like, what kind of animals are we that just like anytime we get like we're just gonna rape people, like we get them anywhere off away from society. But so that
yeah,
does help my faith in humanity as in general. If she didn't get raped,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's good.
So I mean, like the consensus of the court was that it was consensual sex that she had with one person. There was no multiple people involved, and that
Gotcha.
twice prior to this she had actually claimed to have been raped with no evidence of it ever happening before that. Obviously she was young when she claimed it the first couple times, and then this time it just had more traction, I guess.
All right. As a side note, as parents, I hope that we are never in a situation where our kid is like 19 and is like, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna go to Iraq to work in a war zone, delivering stuff or whatever." I think I would
Yeah,
struggle if I talked about it.
yeah, there's a lot of things like that. Yeah, I would definitely be like, nah, you'll find you another job.
Yeah,
That's
let's go online and watch this beheading video, and
right.
then I'll talk you out of it.
uh,
That's my plan.
Good
All
plan.
right. So, how many stars are you gonna give hot coffee? How hot was it?
You know,
180 stars.
I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I thought it was maybe mostly because of content and the fact that it was very thought provoking to me personally. So I'll give it the higher reward for that, even though it wasn't like the greatest documentary in the world. But I did
Right.
like it. I did like the content.
I too will give it 4 stars. I thought it was yeah, it was like a very. I thought it was very well thought out, and like all their logic was pretty sound to me and stuff like that. So I thought it was good,
Yeah.
and it made me think about things in a new way. So yeah,
Yeah,
4
yeah.
stars for me.
Cool. Well, there you go. If anybody out there wants to think a little bit and think about something that they probably haven't given any time to, check out Hot Coffee.
Do it. All
All
right, should
I
we
get.
talk about? Oh, you got some for us this time?
I do. I do have
Nice.
some.
All right.
And actually, I'm gonna cross one out. So I had 4. I was trying to come up with a theme for this week, and it was basically all about the kids.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So although I had 3, and they were all really depressing. So I was like, oh, I gotta find one that's.
Ooh, I like depressing. We haven't had a depressing one in a while.
Okay. Well, so first one is called The Hunting Ground, which basically is a documentary that looks into rape on college campuses. So if you're in for depressing, then the next one I got is Trophy Kids, which is basically parents who are ultra push their kids in sports, from whatever diapers on. And then for the uplifting choice is Maiden Trip, which is the story of a 14-year-old girl who's sailing around the world.
Interesting. All right, I'm gonna cross Trophy Kids off the list, just because I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of like the pushy parent things. I'm just not in that mood right now.
Yeah, we watched
But I have seen that one and been tempted in the past, so maybe we'll come back to that one day.
Okay.
Boy, so I got the. Do I go with the depressing rape or the like? I'm kind of interested in the girl sailing around the world. That sounds kind of interesting. Yeah, I guess let's go. Let's go with the Hunting Ground.
Okay.
Let's get heavy.
We're gonna get heavy next week. That's I don't know. I was so torn. Like for the same reasons, I was really almost put it on or like wanted to like leave it on and take it off my list because I thought someday my daughter will go to college.
All right.
And then like part of me was like, well, no way do I ever want to watch this documentary because I'm freaked out of my mind when she goes to college. Then the other part of me was like, I should really watch this documentary, so I should like be prepared and protect her before she goes to college.
All right.
I got a lot of time. My daughter's only 5, but still.
All right.
All right, so
I only got 8 years to prepare for this.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna
really, it is pretty smart. You should only have like 6 or 7.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining us. Email us at docreviewpod@gmail.com. Boy, I screwed that up. docreviewpod@gmail.com. And leave us some reviews. Hey, we're like reaching the end of our time in the new and notable section. So like the way we get bumped in that is by getting more reviews. So maybe leave a review. Maybe tell your friends to leave a review. Maybe be like, hey, I know you love listening to this podcast, but leave a fraudulent review for it, and I will buy you coffee from McDonald's. Whatever. I don't know. Get us a review. That's what I want. In the meantime, we'll be back for the Hunting Ground next week. Thank you for watching or listening. This is PT. Keep it real.
This is Jonathan. We'll see you next week.